back to our favorite, or one of our great topics around freedom, as it is the theme in the Wisdom Seekers this month. But now looking at freedom from a choice perspective, not from the word, because we've worked on this quite a bit when we went through the five-dim and what does it actually mean? I don't think freedom really exists for us unless we look at a different word for it. Do you think we could look at different way to express what we want it to mean?
Well, as the words have been convoluted very much,
Mhm.
and as a lot of the original words, as the gentleman I was listening to called the denotation, is the original meaning, but they have used it by the word connotation. They've
Mhm.
created another meaning for it. And not people are discouraging people to go back and look at the original word.
Mm.
So it's interesting when you look at the word heal, it means in the sense of like we would tell a dog to heel, to stay, to encapsulate, to, I think Wendy looked up the meanings, the actual meanings for it, but it's basically to stay in position,
It's to obey.
to obey.
Oh, wow.
And we use it, it's being projected to us in a word of health. We want you to heal,
To
health,
get better.
to
Yeah.
get better,
Yeah.
the connotation of it.
Mm.
So what's the true meaning? But a lot of the language has been jiggled around for these other meanings to fit these stories, narratives.
Mm.
So I was just out for a walk and this heal thing just kind of like heal. Oh my goodness, like what? There's only the one meaning, and yet it's used in the term of our health. So what's really the projection of the word?
Mhm.
And what's really the projection of the word freedom with the original meaning?
But it could go both ways. So it could be the dog heel, meaning it's better to be in submission. Um, like I just searched freedom, the etymology of freedom. Comes from the Old English freedom, which is made up of the words fria, frio, and dom. Frio means an exemption from something, and dom, Old English suffix that indicate judgment or condemnation.
So as you said earlier, when we look at the word choice, I don't know what the actual meaning, because I use it in place of the word decision. Because decision, if we look at it, is to decide, to cut. And there's so much weight to that of, live with the consequences. You just make a decision, live with the consequences. Well, choice and awareness we have has more options. You can choose something every 20 seconds. We can choose to have a conversation 20 seconds to 2 minutes into it, we can choose to stop the conversation. We can choose to do anything for a minute, have a cup of coffee, realize I don't need this cup of coffee, and pour it out.
It's always choice and more an option for the word freedom. Yeah.
I would argue that that gives you limitation because now if I choose, then I can look at my options. Like I choose by choosing which one of these I have. Where for me, freedom is to be able to be outside of choice, if that makes sense. And sorry, but now you've triggered me with this heel as well.
Mhm.
So etymology, Middle English heelen or heelen, from Old English heilan, akin to Old High German halen, to heal, Old English whole. So it comes back to whole.
Okay. If that's the meaning, then that we can certainly accept it with our intent as we use these words. Because I believe our intent is to have clarity of our intent when we're using these words with ourselves and others, not just accepting what has been given us by outside measures.
Yes, and that's why I think it's so important. With that intention comes awareness as to where does it come from. Like malignant. Remember when we had that conversation around malignant was actually standing up to the imposed royal decree kind of thing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a perspective.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if we have, then, like you said, clarity in our perspective, so our energy, and this is more important than we realize, our energy's in that awareness. I think the word that comes out is, look up the word ontology. It's different than the word materialize, if I have that correct. I could be wrong, but if we're in that flow of energy with the language, when we say and direct something, there's more availability of energy for us to have an outcome, or at least some sort of motion.
And yet for me, the whole essence of freedom is to be free of the need for anything specific. So even choice implies limitation.
Does choice imply limitation, or does choice imply direction?
But specific direction. It's not open. There's only so many involved.
Yes, but if you don't have some form of specific direction, I don't know that you can manifest everything in all directions at all times, all at once. So if you're not choosing something, then nothing happens.
But freedom is being not tied down to anything. So to be, for me, it comes back to that being in the world, being on the back of a horse with the world in front of you. Kind of, there's no limitations necessarily in that moment for that person.
But that still is a choice.
Yes.
Well, when I look at choice, because we have it here with our ability to travel, we can choose to look at something, a choice to be there, and then have our experience. And that experience will then allow us to say, do we want more of this, or do we want something different?
Right.
And that's why I look at choices. Choices, until you get an experience of it at some sort of feedback or energetic exchange, there is nothing else, right? So, but when we have this experience, we can say, okay, this is not the experience I'm feeling good with. I'm going to choose something else.
Yeah.
So I think that's where freedom comes in, because we're not committed to it. We're not stuck with it. Especially in the sense of engagement with people. We have a choice to have an engagement online. Is this somebody I want to have conversation with? Or after a while we realize, no, We just, there wasn't any kind of energy to go forward with that, but I have that experience of awareness of how I engage with that person.
Hmm.
And that engagement allows me maybe to choose something else more connecting. It's like dating, you find, alignments with somebody that you start to formulate who you want to connect with on and how the experiences you want to have. For us, we want to go experience the beach again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But those choices are based on previous experience. So
Yes.
in essence, you haven't been to a mountaintop in New Zealand, so you don't know that you might want to do that, if that makes sense.
But if that floats in your awareness that maybe that's something you'd like to experience, you can go do it.
Yeah.
Or it might just happen.
Yeah.
A plane ticket might fall into your laps and you'd be like, oh, let's try this out because you're open enough and curious enough to go.
Mhm.
I don't have to go to a beach in Mexico. I can go to a mountaintop in New Zealand or a beach, or whatever.
Yeah.
My thing comes back a lot to the election has been a big topic of conversation, obviously, in
I have to scoot for a few minutes to be back.
Hmm.
gas supplies.
Uh,
Um, so now they say, oh, you are free to choose who you want to run this country. But you're not free to choose. You only have two choices, and those were predetermined.
that's right. There's no freedom in those
There's no
choices.
freedom in those choices. Not at all. There's freedom in choosing the lesser of two evils in most cases, from what you have perceived and has been fed to you through the media. Depending on which article you clicked on and which algorithm you activated, you will think that this one is better than that one. But in essence, you have no choice. There's no freedom in that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean with, do we really understand what freedom is if we take it as here are two choices, you are free to choose?
But the choices aren't coming from the choice is coming from you, but the what's being given is not from you. So
Yeah,
in the case of the election, you're being told you can pick A or B.
yeah.
That's not choice because it's not coming from within you. That is an external factor determining that you have to do something.
Mm.
That's not choice. That's not freedom.
Yeah, but in essence, we only have the choices that we have experienced before. So we can only go, oh, I want to take this road instead of that road, or I want to drink tea instead of coffee, or, whatever it is. So it's all based on our past lived experience. Um, But because I don't know what that mushroom is growing on the grass, I'm not necessarily going to make tea from it because
Mhm.
who knows what's going to happen. But if I've had that mushroom before and it made a good tea, now that's included in my choice options. But for
Sure.
me to be free in that, to include these other options, I need to move away from the choices that I'm used to or that I'm, presented with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose there's an element of risk then that comes into it because I need
Mhm.
to go and say, that's great, but I want more.
Mhm. And the being open to more is is in and of itself well, one, it's a choice.
Yeah.
um and two, it's a leap of faith because we don't know. So have to
And
have
that's
all
the
of
risk.
everything else built into you that's willing to do that.
Yes. And that comes into like the way that we decide to do business. You know,
Hmm.
oh, I don't think the five-step plan thing works for me, but I don't know what all the other options are. So I need to
Hmm.
take a risk and say, I'm not going to do it just because everybody says I need to get up at 5 in the morning and make my bed and then run around the village and then I'll be successful. It doesn't make me feel good. So I'm taking the risk as to what else can happen.
What else is possible? Yeah.
What else is possible? Yeah. Yeah, it sounds very convoluted, but it's like, I think I feel that there's a lot of confusion as to freedom, but it's the only freedom we have are in limitations.
Yes. I think the more we build our strength from within, we've never been, Richard and I have had this conversation a few times. We've never been taught to be strong and solid within ourselves. We have been taught to a point,
Mm.
and for myself, it was, well, you can be strong and solid provided that you're following the rules of the church.
Yeah, okay,
And you can
exactly.
be strong
So
and
you can choose. You do it the way the church does it, or you don't. You're
exactly.
so free in that.
And if you don't choose to do it the way the church does it, then you're not part of the family.
They're going to make it really hard for you. Like you have the choice, but
oh
the consequences are not maybe what, yeah.
yeah.
the-
So I think part of it there is it being at choice and prepared to deal with the consequences. So that is owning who you are completely and utterly and being absolutely solid in your own being. And once that starts to happen, and you just you have faith in that in yourself.
Mm.
So you are the creator of your world, and that, and that becomes more and more and more and more intrinsic in your being. And being neurodivergent, or being whatever they call those words, you don't think the same as anybody else. So you're coming from a standpoint already of being told you're wrong. So you got to reverse all of that,
Mm.
and then be solid and strong in your own being. So when that starts to happen, then the freedom comes, then the choice comes, then the ability to go, I'd like to see what else is possible. I'm not real comfortable with this. I want more. I want, I'm going to get on the back of that horse and ride like the wind. Whereas, 3 weeks ago, there's no way I would have, kind of deal.
Or
Mhm.
motorbike.
Yeah. Or motorbike. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still working on that one.
um, yeah. But it's like a chicken egg thing though, isn't it? Because the more you get to know yourself, the more you know that there is no real choice, that that doesn't work for you. So it, or, meaning no choice in that I need to follow my intuition. There's no choice in that.
Mm.
Well, everything, the choices we have are all inside containers,
Mm.
according to the system as provided. And outside that, there's a lot what I call shame teaching. So you don't look elsewhere. You stay within these lanes of their design. But for many of us now, this is very significant. We want really our complete, as you say, freedom of choice, not what they're presenting. What else can I create in this energy? And this is the time for this, to create our own energy for something that's not like that. But it's not about avoidance. I look at that and say, okay, that doesn't suit my energy whatsoever. It's very contentious to how I feel, what aligns with me to the way I want to be in this world, and choosing that option, but also clearing all the other frames around it, because they said there's the containers, and outside that they have circled it with shame.
Yeah,
So you don't
you're
even,
not enough.
no, yeah.
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 And yet the validation, a lot of it is to move away from the validation, because even if you do stay within those systemic kind of what did you say now, boxed, kind of contained
Mm.
choice,
Container, yeah.
the outcome isn't always what they make it to be. But if it doesn't, if you don't succeed in that way, then it comes back to you. There's something wrong with you. You
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
different or have a disorder, or there's, fucking disorder. Um, yeah. So it's never it's always the generalization of this works for everybody. And if it
Mhm.
doesn't work for you, there's something wrong with you.
So, and that forces the consensus thinking that they have so pervasively worked into our social fabric.
Yeah.
When we all set up like our team goals, corporate goals, again, you wonder why people are so agreeable, because you get shoved in these, like-minded consensus thinking people, and this is how you play the game, but they're dictating the game. They're the team, as they said, like, we're just the objects on the board.
Yeah.
And
Back
many
to
of
your
us,
political comment again. You've got A or B.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but this is in all systems, and politics is easy to show it because it's, you didn't choose those people to be your choice in the first place.
Mhm.
But now you're presented with choice, which now apparently gives you freedom, which it
Yeah.
doesn't, obviously. Um, and you don't know really, there's no transparency within that either, because you don't know who that person is. You only see the stuff that you are being fed through
Mhm.
either the algorithm or the guy that wants you to vote for him. So
Mhm.
all of it are lies.
Mhm.
Um,
Which comes back to the ownership of who you are, you know,
yeah,
and the absolute belief system that your internal radar programming, your internal clock, um, clock and time sweeps, there we go, um, is the right one for you. And that's where you find your freedom.
just a confirmation. I caught a little bit of after this, whatever had happened in the US, they did a survey somewhere, Cleveland, Ohio, 18 to 25-year-olds, and only 8% were choosing party. The other 92% chose independent. They would not go along with what was presented.
Wow.
So that's a
was
huge,
that were those swing states, or were they
I don't know what that was, but just the awareness that these guys are going, whatever's there, we don't want any part of it. We want, just like you're saying, we want our own choice.
Yes, but yet that choice doesn't have a voice in that system.
Not yet,
Mhm.
Yes.
but the awareness that it's there, that they are willing to to move in that direction regardless of, because you're right, and this is where the concession, well, I don't have a choice, but they're saying, I don't give a damn what that is. I'm not accepting those parameters. So I'm willing to go out on
Yeah.
my own, or whatever we create, to do something that's resonates with us.
Mm.
And I think that's where the courage comes in to do it, whether you say your way, but not resign ourselves, submit ourselves to what's available, saying, well, I don't have anything else.
And I think we've also been taught that when those circumstances are in play, the the way through them is controversy, and the way through them is fighting. And that's not necessarily needed either.
Well,
But
this is what, and I mean this whole election choice, and human behavior um, fascinates me. It's like I'm fascinated by it. How 77.5 million people, I mean, that is a lot of people, voted for something that to me looks so clearly like toxic masculinity. But then I can step back and look at, well, what is the other option? If I am being seduced into being heard and seen, do I, or, you know, the only catalyst for change is breakdown. Like, do I go with the breakdown? Is that even a thought? Yeah. And in the whole process, I just realized more and more the necessity of balance, of realizing who we are, you know, as a feminine and as a masculine balanced energy in each entity, um, to uplift each other in our individual strengths and individualism, I suppose, in not being, oh, all women should be like that, or there are only these choices for sexual partners, or there's only this, or there's only that. It's all like, once again, people chose limitation as a form of safety, or did they choose limitation as a sense of change? Because they, you know, the other side would have just been the same thing hidden also.
Again, did they choose overt change, or did they choose, the sneaky behind the scenes, like, you
Yeah.
know,
But
yeah.
all candidates, all politicians to me are sneaky behind the scenes. You know what I mean? There's
Oh,
always,
that's true too.
yeah, a farce going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So do you choose the overt asshole or the one that looks pretty? Um, and yet there's no choice. So yeah, but still, most people went and voted, whatever they voted for. The Green Party and Kennedy were the only two independents that were notable. Um, and yet Kennedy, I really like him. You know, there's such a feminine energy there. He's so standing up for things to be transparent and real, and you almost think that he's a good guy, even though he's a politician. Um, but he sided with this toxic masculine. And then you have to kind of step back again and say, what's really going on? What do we see, and what is the underlying, you know, stuff happening? Because everything is as it should be.
Yeah.
From what I'm reading, there could be very much a massive breakdown of many things. Whether it's going to be organized chaos, controlled opposition, I don't know, but perhaps through that, enough people like us that want to think of our own may have the opportunity to create something. Because
Yeah,
from
we're
that,
already creating it,
yeah.
but for it to be validated, I suppose.
Well, in the sense of even questioning what are both sides in this chaos, what is my choice? Not to, again, if it's controlled oppositions, you still have the awareness of all that to choose energetically something else.
Yeah.
Now, yes, other things could happen, but that awareness changes the energy.
Mm-hmm.
I've said of the way they're trying to funnel the energies.
Mm.
So there can be more positive outcomes if enough people are, and I think there is overall, of seeing through all the chaos, looking at becoming the observer of it too.
Yeah.
And that's, for all of the economies going on, it is pulling people and polarizing people. I'm not saying there's not bad things going on, but when you can become the observer of it, then you're not caught up in the energy of that. And that observer, like we're working with a client, we're the observer of the client. We're compassionate of the client, but we're not in their story.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows for that transformation to take place. So we become the observer of this and have our own intellectual properties of what we're seeing and how we're looking at our energy options without being caught in the fear, the drama, the anger, the polarization. That allows for change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is bringing me back to the importance of these delicate dialogues where, the hatred, the opposition is being caused by an external factor.
Mhm.
And it needs to be put aside for the humanness to be recognized so that we can listen to each other instead of having this thing in the middle, um,
Yeah.
which is very emotive. If you're going to tell me I'm losing control of my body, I'm going to fight you. But I need to put that aside for me to have a dialogue with you. Mm.
I just saw something on this one of these podcaster things, and they're talking about how to have an interview with someone who has a different viewpoint than you. And I thought, so when I went to high school, we had debating clubs,
Mhm.
Did
you
it on
know,
purpose.
on purpose, so we could
Yeah.
dialogue, we could converse. But now all of a sudden, it's become such a huge polarization. It's almost as it's a sensitive topic to have someone in that has a different viewpoint. It's like, holy crap.
But this is why I love people like Joe Rogan, for example, who has these dialogues with lots of people. He's not saying, I believe what you say. He's saying, let's have a conversation. Um,
Yeah.
and still he's the highest paying, or he earns, I don't know, he makes a lot of money through that and has a lot of, um, you know,
Like 100 million a year.
yeah, I think he's got it waxed, but he's
Yeah.
also got his principles. It's like
Yeah.
he invited Kamala or whatever, and she wanted him to change. And he said, well, I think it's better if you come to me, and my podcasts are 3 hours or more. And she was like, no, you come to me and it's only this long, and it's like you have to compromise to be able to connect, I suppose. Compromise your structure. Um, yeah. Kind of coming back to the illusion of self, which I've been playing with a lot as well again. You know, why are your needs more important than, you want to connect, let's connect. Um, the structure, I'm sure she can afford a plane ticket to Austin. Pretty sure. Yeah.
Say something after the recording is over about that. Um,
Yeah.
but
But I mean that, yeah, for me that's important for us to be able to have these kind of dialogues
Mhm.
without having to choose a side. Just
Yeah.
because he has a dialogue with someone doesn't mean he's now a supporter of. But the media will put that on quickly and go, oh, look, um, yeah.
Yeah. And that's important, right? You can have a dialogue. I mean, the ground rules may be some level of respect in
Mm.
language, blah blah blah. But ultimately, someone's able to express their viewpoint now. But part of that is there's openness, but I mean, you're only going to allow a parameter of viewpoints in there. Like if someone's an absolute racist, perhaps that's not something you want to broadcast here. It's not something we accept ourselves.
But you can have a conversation in understanding what forms those opinions for you.
Yes. Yeah. That
Yeah.
you were in that aspect. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not judging it. And
Right.
and this is what makes it difficult to have these dialogues, because it could be such opposing views that, yeah, yeah. But still that dialogue is necessary.
Mhm.
And that's a lesson I think Northern America, or America, the USA, will have to learn, because the culture is so masculine. They will have to find a way to find a balance where there is, yeah, the dark feminine is rising, and she doesn't necessarily want to destroy. There is also an upliftment, because we need both to have a balance.
Mhm.
Well, do we want to just do a clearing around this,
Mm.
around these
Sure.
containers, the even where people avoid this because it's, again, stepping into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So many people won't take that chance. They stay where it's safe, even though it's uncomfortable. They just choose not to even look at that, look at the what could be something different.
Yeah, and maybe the disempowerment that it brings to a lot of people to have to face the opposition, I suppose. Yeah.
You can edit this out, but I see here, so many people became outliers to what's happened in the last 4+ years. You know, and I think it really forced people out on their own, sometimes tragically, to really step into their own authenticity
Mm.
because they didn't want to be part of something or they had a different viewpoint. And I realized, yes, they talked to some people about that yes, it became very tragic in many ways, but it forced these people to really step out and step up in their own lives to make a new choice. And for many was to leave everybody and go somewhere else or have another opinion and just do something different because they weren't willing to concede with what was going on. Not only just whatever, but just the whole environment was so pressure cooked on all these rules and how you must do and what you must say and people it really showed the outliers a chance to step out and really step up. And
Yeah.
I think for this is again similar because there's so much concessionary type opportunities. This is you can do this when you or if you.
Yeah.
And we're going, you know, double fingers. No, I choose not to. I'll starve before I do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also think in doing that, in making those choices, a lot of us recognize just how strong we are. And I think they miscalculated in they miscalculated in how many people would step into that strength. Which I think is what has, fueled these conversations. And there's more and more and more of them that you're seeing. It's not hidden people's voices. It's made them stronger. And it's made them, look at everybody and go, for those of us that started to think, we're thinking. And more and more and more so. So,
and we're having, like, again, I had this conversation at a coffee shop yesterday with somebody because they said, you know, how people are you go back to where they were from. This guy happened to come from the East Coast in Canada, and he said, I said the conversation hasn't changed. He goes, no, not a bit.
mm-mm.
We're having different conversations because
Mhm.
we cannot accept the old conversations that it's recycle. It's like I don't want no part of it. I'll stand by myself in a closet before I take part in that bullshit again.
Yeah.
You know, we're not here to catch up. We're here to explore. We're here to expand. So, you know, like either get on the bus or go away.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything else you want to do.
Yeah. Double
Choice
whammy,
is
whatever.
yours.
Yeah.
Or theirs, but
Yeah. But I think for that, and that's you're right. That and then it hasn't went like this. It's went like rocket ship up.
Yeah.
So as our vibration has changed so much and we're very adamant about it, you know, we are setting a new tone of how and what is going to transpire, and we're willing to do whatever it takes, but we will never ever concede to what was presented or in any type of concessionary submission. No, never.
No.
And, much as whoever's, was elected, maybe what he is, what I found fascinating was the fact that the people of the United States went, no,
Mm.
we're not doing that again. Now, the other that was a different discussion, but we're not having a continuation of what we've just had. And it was a clear and definite no.
Yeah.
So,
So we think there's a lot of people looking not blindly to say, show me. You're saying this now, show me,
yeah.
or else. And I think that's a lot of energy that's there as well, because they saw what the other stuff was so not good.
Hmm.
But here, okay, we have voted, now prove it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still an accountability that needs to happen,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
from that perspective.
Well, I guess let's do probably a 10-minute time sweep on this, just clearing away
Yeah.
the obscurities of this.
Hmm.
Just bring in the team. Open this up. Barriers down, internally, externally. Open all time sheets and all the influences that go around and overshadow what we are being presented to as choice. As the choices, the slice of bread, but they're hiding the loaf from us and what really they want us to do. And how all of those choices are all energy flows and not necessarily of our benefit. Open all those time sweeps, templates, and programs, and all those so-called choices that are presented to us and how we manifest, how we promote ourselves, how we make our way in life. And open all the time sweeps of any interference or tags that it presents or containers that it holds us in order that they can monitor and, again, control. Open, clear, delete, and destroy, and eradicate all of that through each choice and beyond now. Open all the time sheets again on these so-called choices of how we generate our income, how we live our life, the choices we have of what we say, what we do, and our expression, and all the containers that so-called limit us, or the language around that expression, everything that interferes with our true ability to express without having to look over our shoulder or wonder if we're saying the right thing, even in connection. Open all of those time sweeps, templates, and programs. Open, clear, delete, destroy, and eradicate now. When we are given choices by society, politics, policies, and are choosing, open up all of those time sweeps of limitations, categories, structures, feeder programs as they're funneling our so-called choices into something else that's monetized or politicized or metasized. Open up all of those time sweeps and templates and programs where we're not, so we can see this unfolding before us. So it removes our cognitive dissonance and allows us to truly see what's being presented and what's available for us to choose. Open all those time sweeps, templates, and programs. Open, clear, delete, and destroy truth, reach, source, and beyond now. Open all the time sweeps again on cognitive dissonance, where we have succumbed to something and been blinded through habits, through tradition, through whatever has been forecast before us, through family habits, churches, financial means. And that cognitive dissonance also comes with it enormous patterns of avoidance. We don't even know what we don't even know in a sense of our own choices. Open all of those time sweeps, all those programs, templates, avoidance programs, cognitive dissonance programs. Open, clear, delete, destroy, and eradicate all of them to reach source and beyond now. Open all time sweeps again on anywhere we have subjected ourselves to this cognitive dissonance, where it just numbs our senses and our awareness to the point that we're not even aware. We're encapsulated in blindness in these containers of life, thinking we're living our life to our fullest extent And we're the first step in a ladder, banging our head on the next one. And it's a 12-step ladder. Open all of those time seams, templates and programs, cognitive dissonance programs, avoidance programs, interjection, interception programs, open, clear, delete, and destroy all of that. To each source, everywhere at once, now. Open up all the time seams on promotional programs when things are presented to us as a so-called opportunity. Somehow it comes with 1,000 hooks and 1,000 tags and all these things that contain us and all these things that drain our energy, that siphon us off into exhaustion and frustration and rage. Open up all of those time seams, templates, and programs. Open, clear, delete, and destroy everywhere at once now. Open all the time seams on choice, cognitive dissonance of choice, no choice, choice, consensus choice. Everywhere there's alignment, but they're funneling people. It's like a multi-choice question, and there's only 2 choices, and neither one's right. Open up all of those time seams, all those no choice options we actually have. The cognitive distance of it, where we have submitted, where we have given up, subject ourselves, and consented to without even an effort, and where it's really drained us, sucking the life out of us. Open up all of those time seams. Open, clear, delete, destroy, and eradicate now. And open up all the areas of avoidance and the blindsidingness of this, of the shadow work that causes so much cognitive dissonance that people can't even think of something. It's like walls and walls of objection that smother them, and where they stay in Plato's cave, hiding in the shadows. Open up all of those time seams, all of those shadow caves, Plato cave stories and systems that keep us down there in the dark. Open, clear, delete, and destroy, and eradicate now.
And as all of this is opening, allow the time sweeps to also open the original source programming of sovereignty, of choice, of the ability and the awareness to be our own individuals, to understand that we have a direct connection to source, that we are at choice at all times, and that those choices are not, we are not subjugated to those choices, that we have the ability to access what works and what is right for us, for each individual person. And as those choices and as that knowledge grows and becomes stronger, becomes more rooted in our beings, so that all of what Richard talks about just further dissipates, and the hooks that would bring it back are not there. Allow that to fill our bodies. Allow the divine masculine and the divine feminine to be intertwined, to be strong, to be solid, to grow and expand, clearing anything that would prevent or limit or stop that from happening, and deleting all of those obstacles to, through, and beyond source, eradicating them now. It got quiet.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
That cognitive dissonance is something I was working on yesterday when I was out for a walk. It's so massive.
Oh, it's huge. It's one of
Yeah.
my favorite concepts to play with, because it can be so hidden. It can be so unnoticed and still there.
And
Mhm.
it works in one of my favorite topics, avoidance. We don't even know what we're avoiding.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
Autobots.
yeah.
Well, I think we're good. Thank you. Again, once again, we put in a stellar performance.